Understand. Yeah. Well, look, I not a big CW guy, but I started watching Superman and Lois last year because the trailer was just so good, and I ended up just loving the show more than I thought I would. And I think Tyler Hoechlin, when I got to see him in Crisis and the Crisis crossover and in Supergirl, I was thinking to myself, that guy could be a pretty good Superman. It's just he doesn't have the right material at all to do anything good. And then when they went over to do his own standalone series, the trailer looked so good. I was like, maybe this is the right material for this guy, and it proved out that this was the right material. I think last year, um, through a tough kind of year of like not being able to do anything, Superman and Lois was a show for me throughout the entire year that I could watch because they took so many breaks because of COVID. So they might have 2 or 3 episodes in a row, and then they have a break for 2 weeks, and episodes come back because the VFX team was struggling to get all the work done. But yeah, it was a really good show. And like last season, he had Superman. He moved to Smallville with his family because his mom died, and he had to go up against Tal Rho, who was another Kryptonian. His human name was Morgan Edge, and he was actually his half brother. So they had a big fight and rivalry throughout the whole season. But then at the start of the season, there was this kind of mysterious villain, Captain Luthor, who came from, we'll just call it Earth 2 for now. He came from Earth 2. We got to find out his real name was John Henry Irons, aka Steel. So we had Superman v Steel for a while, and we got more information, background information to Steel. And he came from Earth 2 because on his Earth, Superman went evil and killed absolutely everybody. And even his wife, even Steel's wife. And on his Earth, his wife was Lois Lane, the same actress, the same lookalike as Lois Lane. So he comes to this Earth to kill Superman. And in the end, he comes around and he teams up with Superman. Everything's okay to take on Morgan Edge, Tal Rho, Superman's half brother, and all his kind of he kind of made the people of Smallville, some people into Kryptonians. He put some kind of thing in them to make them powerful. So that was a really good season. And near the end of the season, John Henry Irons' daughter came from Earth 2. She was able to come here. There's like a spaceship they build and stuff. I'm not going to go into all the logistics, but she comes and she sees her mother, who is Lois Lane, because in her Earth it was the same persons. They looked like each other. She thinks it's her mother, but it's not. And that's the big cliffhanger because Lois Lane on this Earth, she was pregnant with a girl and she had a miscarriage and she lost her daughter. And last season, she was struggling with that and stuff. This happened years prior before they had their sons. This happened years prior, and she had to deal with the kind of the mental struggle and the trauma of that. So that's where kind of this season picks up, and we pick up straight after that cliffhanger. But then there's a 3 month time skip because the young girl Natalie from Earth 2 runs to her mother, and Lois Lane like doesn't know her or anything, and she kind of rejects her. But 3 months later, you meet Lois Lane, and she has no relationship with Natalie whatsoever. She's kind of very angry towards her sons and towards her husband Clark because she has so much stuff going up mentally with herself. And she's dealing with that in this episode a lot. And then you have Jonathan and Jordan who have their love interest. Jordan takes after his father. He's powerful. He's just learned how to use his powers and stuff like that. His girlfriend Sarah has just come back from camp and he's looking forward to meeting her. And then Jonathan gets caught kind of trying to have sex with a girl in his room, and Lois Lane goes absolutely crazy. But the kind of the main thing for this episode was something that I loved was Superman has a new kind of lieutenant to like go to because last season the lieutenant he had was his father-in-law, General Lane, but he retired and now we have General Anderson or Lieutenant Anderson is taking over. And what Superman does in this episode is he goes to North Korea and he saves a sinking submarine. It's about to blow up, and he saves it. And the people inside the submarine are like, "Oh, Superman saved us! Superman saved us!" And Superman goes back to the military base and reports back, and the lieutenant is going crazy because the submarine he saved was North Koreans and their nuclear weapons. And there was a great line in the episode. I don't have a quote by quote, but the general expects Superman to work for just America only, to do what America wants. And Superman's like, no, I don't work for America. I kind of work for the world. I just don't save people from America. I save everybody. That's my job. And there's kind of a back and forth between this lieutenant. And as the episode goes on, there's a big earthquake in Smallville. And Superman goes to help people. Of course, there's buildings falling and stuff like that. But he's in this episode, he's starting to get headaches. There's tremors, there's earthquakes throughout the episode, and he's about to save these people, but then he gets a headache and he falls to the ground. And while it's all blurry, he sees these other two people with powers saving them. So he reports back to the base, and it turns out that the military have like a school for superheroes. They're not Kryptonians. They're like superheroes, like power, like super strength, super speed, and stuff like that. And he is recruiting them to be like basically Superman for him, so they will go off and save people. And Superman is saying, you can't do this. They're only young enough people. They're only kids. They're going to get hurt. It's okay saving people from an earthquake, but when there's bigger threats out there, you can't do this. And these kind of kids, these new recruits, are dressed up in Superman costumes. And Superman's very angry over this because he's like, that's my symbol, you can't use it. And the lieutenant is like, well, that's the most known symbol in the world. I want people to know that we're good guys. If you won't be America's Superman, I'm going to find somebody who can be. So there's a bit of an aggro there between Superman and the American government right now. And it reminds me of Batman v Superman, where he was put up for trial in terms of when should Superman act and who should he act for? Is it for the world, or is it for himself, or is it for America? So I could see them going down that line in the future. Maybe this lieutenant will set up Superman that he looks bad to the public and stuff like that to justify his own kind of team. The team is called Supermen of America. So I could see that going further. But near the end of the episode, we get a very exciting tease, and many people probably be upset with and stuff like that, is the introduction of Doomsday into the CW world. And we only see his hand, but I don't know what the VFX and stuff will be like for Superman and Lois. So far, they've been good, but it looks like we're going to see Superman v Doomsday 2.0 for the first time since 2016's Batman v Superman. So there's a few parallels. There's some similarities. Doomsday, Superman versus the American government, and also this Supermen of America remind me of the soldiers who had the guns in Bruce's Nightmare. Remember the soldiers with the patches on the side with the Superman symbol? That reminds me of that. So there's some parallels to Batman v Superman, but what they show kind of does beautifully for me is kind of it's a tribute to other iterations of Superman, and it's also doing its own thing. And it's respectful to Snyder, to Donner, to Brandon Routh's film, to Smallville, and I like that very much. I really do. But I thought this episode was pretty good. I'm a little bit scared to see the VFX work on Doomsday, because look at Batman v Superman. That's the blueprint, as they say on Twitter, for Zack Snyder stuff. I kind of would be a letdown if the VFX wasn't really good on such a great character. But the show.
Well, don't you remember like in Smallville? Sorry to interrupt. Don't you remember Smallville? They had a dude in a suit as Doomsday.
Yeah,
and it was pretty shitty.
I watched a YouTube clip earlier on because somebody told me that Doomsday was on Smallville, and I was like,
"Did you see the one on Krypton?"
No, I never watched that show. Is it good?
The design was questionable, but the VFX were good.
Yeah, well, that's all I hope, really. But the showrunner did say there's going to be numerous villains this season, and he says at some stage their paths will cross. So I'm interested to see what that is. Is Lex Luthor going to come back into it, or other characters like that? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I know I kind of went on there about what the episode was about, but the episode is about kind of relationships and things like that, and I think it does that because you have stuff with Jonathan and Jordan. I think many people out there can relate to it, because a lot of the CW shows I see teen drama, and it's very dramatized and it's a bit stupid. But here it's a little bit grounded, and you can actually feel for yeah, it is, but you can feel for the characters. Like you have Jordan and his girlfriend Sarah, who the relationship's kind of messy there at the minute and stuff like that, but it's not done in a stupid kind of unrealistic way. And then the stuff with Lois, I think a lot of women out there can relate to that, losing their child, miscarriage and stuff like that. And that's a huge thing. That's a thing that many people out there can relate to as well. So I think the acting is all good. The VFX work, the directing, the writing, it's picked up straight after season 1, which is good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the season big time. I can't wait to see where it goes next. And we're going to be introduced to Lois Lane's sister, Lucy Lane, who was on the CW Supergirl series, but this is kind of a rebooted version of it. It won't talk about the past events or anything like that from those shows. But the showrunner did say that they did have plans in season 1 to cross over Superman with Batwoman. And the reason it didn't happen, this is supposed to be connected to the rest of the CW, but the reason it didn't happen was because of COVID and because of the pandemic. Because you weren't allowed so many people on set. You couldn't have people coming from across America or the world just to be on set for a cameo and stuff like that, the crossover events. So it made it a contained story. And for me, that's absolutely benefited them hugely. And I hope they continue doing this. They said the only character that will probably pop up is John Diggle. He was on Green Arrow, I think. I think he teased to be Green Lantern, but it never happened or something like that. I think at the end of Arrow, but yeah, he's the only one because he popped up in season 1. But they said some other superheroes would pop up as well, but they didn't say any of the pre-existing shows. It could be brand new superheroes. So I hope it stays self-contained because I think the show is a lot better that way. But for me, I really enjoyed this one. Probably not the best premiere I've ever seen. Probably an 8.5 out of 10, I'd say. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes next week.
Cool. Rokan, do you have something to add?
No, I don't. I don't. Sorry to disappoint. I don't watch Superman and Lois.
That's not a
so
disappointment to me, though.
I don't watch Superman and Lois, but all I can say, man, as long as you dig it, man, that's the bottom line, you know.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. A lot of people like
Henry.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Henry Cavill, but I don't have him right now. This is all I have is Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. You know?
Yeah, fair enough.
And
fair enough, man.
If Henry Cavill doesn't come back and Tyler Hoechlin continues this form, if the show continues this form, the writing, everything continues to be really good, then I think he could be my number one if Henry Cavill doesn't come back. You know, I can't hold on to Henry Cavill forever.
You feel like you're kind of like back in. You feel like you feel like you're kind of like back in that position of the was like the mid 2000s where you had Brandon after doing Superman Returns, and there was kind of like his future was up in the air after Superman Returns, but you still had Welling at the same time that was going on. You still kind of like, okay, well, we still have, you know, Tom Welling. So I feel like you're kind of like back in that type of life position. You know what I mean?
It's kind of controversial online now. I probably wouldn't make a tweet about it. I probably wouldn't say this on Twitter because people lose their shit. But it kind of reminds me of when the Flash movie was announced and the Flash TV show was going on at the same time. I remember people were outraged that Grant Gustin wasn't the movie Flash. You know, but
right.
It kind of reminds me a bit of that as well. But yeah, look, if Henry Cavill can't do it anymore, I think Tyler Hoechlin is a really good replacement. And Lambert X says watched both Superman and Lois and Boba Fett. The CW show had better VX. Shocking. Yeah, I was watching some of the Boba Fett stuff. It seems like a very safe show. It doesn't have too many risks in terms of the action so far. But the Superman and Lois VFX is really, really good. There's a few tweets out there and pictures and stuff of the submarine scene where he's saving people and it's raining and stuff like that. There's some really good shots right there, and the stuff when he's in the sky and he's flying. Like, it just, I can't really pick out any parts where that looks terrible. I think it's been all mostly, for the most part, it's been really, really good VFX, and that's that shows are taking it seriously, big time. And then Brett Martin says, looked like Doomsday was in his containment suit as well. Yeah, it didn't look like claws or like alien body parts or anything like that, like Doomsday from Batman v Superman. It did look like a metal arm or like a suit. That's why when I originally saw it, I was like, oh, who is this? Which character is this? I didn't think of Doomsday until I went and I read the showrunner's interview where he basically said it was Doomsday. He kind of gave it away. And he said we will find out and we'll see a full reveal in episode 3, not in episode 2. So yeah, and then of course there's the Natalie character that I talked about. She's living in this earth with her father now, and she's trying to get used to that. But also her mother is Lois Lane, but it's not really her mother, and there's a big relationship between those two characters going on as well. So I think the show is well written on all fronts, not just Superman.